Welcome to this week's update at Brackley Town. Plenty going on at the club at the moment. We've got lots and lots of kids here enjoying beautiful sunshine and playing some football in the half-term camps. As you can see, the pitch behind me is coming on really, really nicely. We're joined by Gaz and Ali, two club legends, who talk to us about their new roles within the club, what their input is, the dealings in the transfers, and why it can be a very difficult time of the year to sign players. So please enjoy this interview, which is a very honest and open interview with Gaz and Ali. See you next week. Right, here we are with club legends Ali and Gaz. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Welcome, mate.
No problem at all.
Right, so lads, you're both in new roles now within the club. Do you mind telling everybody a bit more about kind of what you're going to be doing and what we can expect?
Yeah, I think from my side, I sort of said it after my retirement. I think the club are looking forward now with somewhere between the sort of board and the management to help with kind of like the football operational side. So yeah, I know the gaffer, Joe Taylor, so I'll be helping a little bit with the recruitment side of things, in terms of supporting the gaffer in terms of like the profile of player that he wants, and helping Joe in terms of trying to find those players alongside the management team. And then equally supporting the club and the infrastructure as well. I think, when Gavin left, I think the club sort of learned that they need to have their own sort of infrastructure around the club, whether that be sort of staff members, etc., etc. So helping with that, and also like learning from the mistakes of this season. So, small things, the gaffer will tell you that we don't have a facility at the moment where we can be doing, like shape out, and we rely heavily on utilising the pitch. And if winter months are there or weather's around and, he can't utilise that facility. So it makes it very difficult for him to put on the sessions that maybe he wants to. So even looking at things like that moving forward for the club around, the infrastructure, the training facilities, what the management team need, what the players need, and helping with that side of things and whatever else Jan can find for me to do. So, which I'm sure the list is sort of endless, but lots to do for the club. I think also as well, a lot of people talk around full-time models for the future. If that's a model that the club want to look for the future, which, if we want to get back into the National League, then that probably is something the club need to look at for the future to, for sustainability at that level. What that looks like in terms of budgets, players, also things like restrictions around the sort of locality of Brackley. So how do we enhance our sort of radius of or pool of players that we can bring into the club? Because, travel is a big thing in football now, and other clubs are putting on accommodation, things like this. So where they can ultimately go and pick anyone around the UK because they can put them in a house local to the football club. So there's loads of things that the club can kind of learn from and stuff for the future, to ultimately bring a better profile of player in, and help the club continue to grow with the ever evolving world of football.
Love that. Superb. Ali, what about you, bud?
Yeah, so it'll be very based similar to last season, based on obviously goalkeeping coaches were probably number one priority. And then obviously off the back of that, doing a lot of the analysis, doing a lot of the set plays, which I led last year. So it'll be mostly focused around those three areas. A lot of like the backroom stuff that people don't really see. But a lot of work will be focused on that side of stuff, along with obviously helping Gaz and Joe and Wingy in terms of that recruitment side, and just reiterating what Gaz says, really utilising kind of the surrounding areas that we probably haven't touched kind of in the past. So looking at kind of your links with your big pro clubs that are on your doorstep that we probably haven't touched into as much. You've seen the impact that Ben and Byron had last season, especially towards the kind of middle to the back end of the season. So really utilising the contacts that Joe and Wingy have with your Oxfords and your Northamptons and teams like that, like your Coventries that previously we haven't touched. And I think that will give us a more club local feel, which probably we may have lost. I think we've had it in the past, but we probably may have lost that because obviously our pool of players got bigger, and we went after players from like your league clubs, which at the time was the right thing to do when obviously we got promoted. So yeah, just really utilising that club feel, which is at the heart of Brackley Town, which probably we may have missed recently. Just to bring everyone together. Like ultimately, the fans want players that they can speak to, that they can kind of get to know on a personal level, know people that kind of know them, because they are only half an hour, 45 minutes around, instead of people that are like we're driving 3 hours to training, and like living far away is tough. Like we were in a league where all teams were full time. Being part time was a big ask, especially when I think we had 6 back-to-back Thursday training, and we couldn't really get on the pitch then. Saturday, Tuesdays, it's relentless. Especially being part time and getting those lads to travel in then on a Thursday or a Monday night is tough. Weighing up that balance, whether that's a good thing to bring them in or not to rest legs, and all around that is a massive learning curve. Like Gas said, like the club, staff, it was a big learning curve, and we have to move forwards. I know the club have developed a lot with the ground and with kind of the board and all that sort of stuff. The stuff that you and Chris are doing is massive. So like, we all have to go with it. Obviously, a lot we'll touch on it, but obviously you've seen the retain list and stuff like that. So it's a big summer, and ultimately it's just helping and supporting what PD, Wingy, and Joe want to bring into the building, and how that then moves forward into to pre-season and the season.
So obviously you both mentioned like player profiles and kind of bringing the right people into the club that you're building with Wingy. Like, what does that look like? Like, what can fans expect? Like what kind of profiles are you targeting? What kind of culture do you want to see and kind of really grow?
I think the first thing that the Gaffer will be completely honest with is he probably wants to see a more athletic group. So I think number one priority is probably going to be looking at the age profile of the squad, myself included, to reduce
that average age
and,
comes right down.
That's why I retired, mate. Straight away, you lose a few years. But yeah, I think that's being brutally honest, that will be one of the big priorities, to bring that kind of age profile down to kind of a more youthful group, and that's not at the expense of having some senior leaders in there and characters that know how to get over the line and nurture young talent and stuff. So there's finding the right balance between that, which they're definitely looking to do. And ultimately, like, every manager is going to have their own kind of systems that they want to play, their own formations, their own shapes, their own kind of identity, in possession, out of possession, which that ideology, I don't think the Gaffer will be able to say that. He's probably said he's quite restricted with we all know what we were doing under Gavin, and Gavin was very methodical with his approach, which I'd say as a group we certainly needed. Probably having to go kind of above and beyond sort of the normality with this group is probably what it needed. And I think the Gaffer now wants probably more 1v1 players in terms of the attacking area, duels, getting at people, probably a little bit more width, high areas in the pitch, and ultimately probably a front 4-3 that really want to excite the crowd and the fans and enjoy having the ball at their feet. And I think that will be something they're definitely looking to do. But equally, you want players that can win their duels in the centre of the pitch, be physical, because at the end of the day, there's a balance at this level of football. You're going to go away on Tuesday nights with teams that are going to rain balls under your crossbar, and you're going to need players that stick their head above the parapet and get hurt and take the bruises, and they need those moments. But equally, you're going to need the players that can score goals, because we haven't scored enough goals as a football team. Certainly last year, but even in previous years before that. So I think that's definitely going to be a priority. And yeah, I think that's, for me, he'd probably say the same thing, but I think that's what he's looking for with the recruitment. It's exciting as well, because I think Joe's got a plethora of contact in the game, of knowledge, of non-league and football league. So in terms of the players that we're speaking to, in terms of the players that we're looking for, and the profile of players that we're looking for. That's all really exciting. And I see stuff online. There's an element of patience this time of year. We're still in May. I don't think the pieces of paper are worth anything at the moment when people are announcing signings and stuff like that, because ultimately you can't submit the contracts through yet. So, but yeah, I think things are moving in the right direction, and I think the key thing is everyone's on the same page. We know what we want as a group, and that's about implementing those ideas and finding the right characters, right profile of players, and I'm sure we'll do that.
Love that. Anything to add to that, Ali?
No, I know Gaz briefly touched on it, but just bringing that like excitement, or almost speaking to fans and kind of hearing murmurs and what's gone on last season, almost kind of flipping it and bringing excitement back to Brackley, and giving the fans something to really be passionate about, like really going to enjoy watching us play. And that kind of changes the philosophy, which obviously Wingy will do, and the culture of the group and the club, and that's a big ask. That's something that he will drive towards, and kind of expect everyone to be on that same page come the first few weeks of pre-season, because bringing that amount of players into a group is going to be challenging in different areas, but more so bringing the right people in. Like it's all well and good going to sign the best players and everything like that, but they have to be the right people as well, which I know they're quite strong on. So they're wanting to bring excitement football. They want to give the fans something to really go and enjoy watching, like some real passion, some lads that really want to go and fight and do the horrible things like Gaz touched on, but then also in the third part, or the end of it, really going to kind of bring that sign of like no lose energy. So like just going free for all, just go and enjoy yourself, like do the horrible stuff well, but kind of at the right times really get at your men, like cross the ball, get goals on, get shots off. Like I know that sounds really easy and simple, but it's what fans want to see at the end of the day, and that's probably something we lacked because we didn't score enough goals in a lot of previous years. So yeah, just really bringing that excitement, and that comes with kind of the players that we bring in, and I know it's tough, and I've heard a lot of fans say like where are the signs and all that, but all I can say is that the amount of work that goes on now, and the amount of work that everyone is doing, more so than the season, in terms of all like the backroom stuff and all the players and all the conversation that's happened and happening. There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes in the last few weeks, and will continue to do so when we go back to pre-season. So we just have to remain patient. They will come. There's a lot of good conversations happening. There's a lot of good excitement that will come, but it's probably just not right now, and it will come in the next week or so.
I think as well, Will, that's it's important to note as well that I've been a player for so many years now. It's a players' market at the moment, and what I mean by that is that as much as managers want to be in every single room with players and talking to players and making sure they've got a foot in the door and showing their interest at this stage, you also have to remember that the way that football works now is players are doing the exact same thing. They want to speak to 3, 4, 5 clubs. They're going to have agents that are, speaking to clubs on their behalf and, touting them around and saying, are you interested in this player, and et cetera, et cetera. So these players might be speaking to 4, 5, 6 clubs at this stage, but ultimately, they're always going to ask for inflated wages at this stage of the market. It's a players' market, and they'll be patient as well as football clubs will be patient. Players will be. That soon changes, and that will change at the flick of a switch. You're talking probably 10th of June, certainly mid-June. Players will start to get a little bit itchy and twitchy and start to go, ooh, and then there'll be some more realistic conversations happening. So I think at this stage, it's important that the football club protects their resources. First and foremost, you don't want to be overpaying for a player's worth just because we're too eager. And also, I think we've learnt lessons as well. There's got to be a degree. I think we had 10 players, and I'm talking proper first team players in the medical room last year at the end of the year. So, that's unheard of in my time as a player. And when you look at the club's resources, the budget that we're provided, it's also important to factor in that, you know, we need players that are robust enough to deal with 40, 45, 50 game seasons. I mean, love him or hate him, you look at like a Matt Lowe as an example, incredible athlete. Like, he looks after himself better than most, like as a full-time professional in terms of the recovery work that he does, in terms of the fitness work he does. You know, in touch wood, he's always been a player that's, you know, been out there, you know, having shots fired at him, whether he's playing well or not playing well, because he puts himself out there as a character, and he's robust. And I think if you look at the group towards the end of last year, we had too many people in the medical room, and ultimately that then creates its own problems, because you're playing players out of position. You're maybe not able to select your preferred 11. You might not be able to play the formation that you want to be able to play. So when I say about the age profile earlier, I think it's really important that we actually get players that have got proven track record, that are robust enough not to be playing 12, 15 games for this football club. You know, there's an expectancy that they need to be playing 40, and also want to be playing 40 plus games for this football club. You want to be out there in the mix. So yeah, there's a degree of that as well. So I think there's loads of when you're looking at player profile, it's not just like, oh, he's a good footballer. There's so much to it now. It's the financial side, the in and out of possession. Can they do what you're asking them to do? You know, their injury track record, and yeah, so many sort of little things that the club needs to work through to make sure that they're finding the right characters and the right players that can ultimately deliver what we want, which is to be the top end of this division next season.
Love that. Good question for you both. Like, it is like, because obviously you're talking to a lot of players at the moment, is selling Brackley as like an opportunity, like, is that easy? Because obviously there's a lot of, like, you know, huge teams, huge clubs in our division. Like, how do you sell Brackley? Like, what's the proposition that you kind of deliver to players?
I think from my perspective, you know, I've been here for 10 years and I've chosen to stay here for 10 years. And, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to do this role was to continue to be an advocate for the football club and an ambassador for the football club, ultimately, first and foremost. And, you know, the club, I think when you go away to other clubs and stuff like that, and you see the sort of hustle and the bustle and the chaos, it's run in an unbelievably efficient, controlled, sustainable way, which I think is really impressive. And obviously I get like an insight to that with being so close to people kind of at the board level and stuff. But I think that's really impressive, and it's not the normal. It's kind of say it should be, but it's not. And equally as well, I think when you look at the success of the football club, particularly at this level of football, we've got a proven record that, you know, cup runs in all cup competitions, league campaigns, you know, we've always been in that sort of top 2-3 teams at this level of football, and that shouldn't change, and the ambition should remain exactly the same. So if I'm a football player, I'm going, well, one, we should always trust, I think, from a point of trust. So if I'm being told that I'm going to come and play 40 games, then believe I'm going to back myself to go and play 40 games for this football club. I'll be in a competitive squad, which will shoot towards the top end of this division and aim for promotion out of this division, which we shouldn't shy away from. And that should excite people to come to this football club. And as a package, you know, we'll look after people, but equally there's a structure that has to work with. There's a progression opportunity for younger players that, you know, have to earn their stripes. But you know, I think from a former player of this football club, I know how much opportunity it gives you. And also it's an incredible club in terms of the culture, the community, so many young kids coming through the doors now. We've set a culture for the football club in terms of players and that relationship with the fans, and that's got to remain now. It's like a non-negotiable. So people that come into this football club have to really sort of tap into that and enjoy that side of it as well. And I think the club's still on an upward curve. So I said last season was a bit of a bump in the road for the club. It's not what we wanted. It's not what should have happened. But ultimately, it doesn't mean that, you know, we can't strive for more and continue to strive for more in the future, which is what the football club should do. I think I've always believed, I've had loads of lonely summers as a football player after the failures, but I always believe that failures make you stronger if you can learn from them, sit down, analyse them, critique them and grow from them. And I think the club will do that. And I think for any player, playing for this football club is I shouldn't even have to sell it. It's exciting because look at the track record for the last 10 years, and that curve for me. Yes, there's a plateau, a bit of a dip, but it will continue to go on an upward trajectory with the work that the people put in behind the scenes.
Superb. What an answer. Ali, anything you want to add? We've only got a couple of minutes left.
No, just I'll echo that. Just how aligned the club is from Matt, Jan, Tim to yourself, Chris. Now, obviously, Wingy and Joe and Petey. Everyone has to be so aligned, and they are more than ever. I don't think Brackley needs to kind of sell itself. I think it almost sells itself from the track record of previous, and just silly things like the amount of work they're putting into the ground, the amount of work they're putting into the pitch, like all that stuff probably goes a little bit unnoticed, but it's a big outlay to the football club only because they want to improve. Like the pitch last season, I believe towards the start and towards the end was very, very good, but that's not enough for them. They want to go and do even more. I think they put 460 tons of sand on it or something ridiculous. So they want to impress. They want to keep on pushing the boundaries. They want to improve, and that goes from the pitch to the backroom staff to Gaz to yourself to Chris to then the playing group. So like everyone is on that trajectory, and everyone is now working aligned, I believe, even more than ever to the goal that ultimately we want at the end of the season.
Superb. Gents, that's been amazing. Thank you so much for those insights. That's been incredible. That's hugely appreciated.
You're welcome, mate. Get back to work now, mate.
Yeah, I know, 100%. Right, stop recording.
Hopefully see you soon.
Kinda tired trying to